Afternoon. I want to welcome you to our fourth town hall meeting. I'm Bob Anderson again, the Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Human Services. This is the fourth in our series of 8 town hall meetings. Today we're going to be focusing on our Division of Economic Assistance Eligibility. And I'm pleased to have with me Sharon Butler, our Director of that division. Sharon?
Thank you.
Glad to have you with us. Well, we've received some questions in advance, just as we have in our earlier town halls, and we'll accept some questions live as we get further into our town hall. I ask you that your questions be on topic, and that is on our economic assistance programs that we're going to be talking about today. But to kind of address some issues that have come up pretty regularly, I want to talk to you about a couple of common complaints that we're getting, that we're working on, we're aware of. We hear a lot of comments about you're not being able to contact or connect with some of our county offices. And we understand your frustration. We know that some of our phone systems are pretty old and they need to be upgraded, and we're looking into that. In many cases, the county actually provides the phone system that we use. And in that county, in some cases, we even share a phone line with the county, with other county agencies.
Exactly.
So that further makes it, hard. It ties up the phones and makes it hard for you to get through. And we apologize for that. We're adding phone lines in some of the counties where we, receive the most calls, and we'll continue to work on upgrading our phones agency-wide. But we do ask you to be patient with us as we move through that process. Now, we've had a lot of questions from you. We may have more questions from you today about the pandemic EBT or PEBT. And that's one of the most common areas that we have gotten some questions about. Let me just say that for the rest of this current school year, we're still exploring options there. So we ask you to please be patient with us, just like with the phone lines. That's an issue we're aware of. We're moving forward. We're working with our federal partner, the Food and Nutrition Service, and we just ask for your patience as we work to move forward on the issues around PEBT.
Yes.
So Sharon, we want to talk a little bit today about just an overview of your division. Okay. So let's start with the program probably more folks are familiar with than any. Among the various services that Economic Assistance Eligibility administers, tell us a little bit about the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. What is that all about?
Okay, the Supplemental Nutrition Program is better known as SNAP, and some people refer to it as food stamps previously. And it's our food program that's federally funded to help low-income people and low-income households buy food, healthy foods for their households.
So if somebody wants to apply for SNAP assistance, what do they need to do? Who do they talk to?
They can call the local Department of Human Services offices. You can go online, mdhs.gov, and you can apply there. You can apply at access.gov.mississippi. So there are several ways. You can call the county office, and they can have an application sent to them, and they can mail that in.
Okay.
So there are a couple of ways that they can apply.
Now, the county offices, as I understand, right now, the doors are locked, and those offices are closed. Mm-hmm. And that's due to the pandemic, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
And that is for the protection, not just of our staff, but the protection of our consumers as well.
Right. We don't want to expose them to COVID. We don't want to expose our employees to COVID. Correct. So we're keeping the doors closed right now.
Yes.
But they can call, and let me ask this, does every county have a county office for MDHS?
Every county has a county office, yes.
Okay.
All county offices do not have drop boxes. Some of them do have drop boxes where the consumers are able to drop off their information in the box. If you can't do it that way, you can always go to My MDHS and upload it through the EA upload, or go to our website and upload your documents to your caseworker through the upload.
I was at a county office the other day, and I'm interested to hear the drop box is usually right near the door. Is that right?
That's correct.
Because they were encountering, some folks were dropping stuff in their mailbox, which is out by the street.
Right.
But when we're talking about a drop box, we're talking about the box that's right there by the door that's
Yes,
closed.
yes. Normally it's located very, very close to the front door.
Okay. Now, my understanding is there's a SNAP pre-screening tool that's on the website. What's that? What does that tool do?
The pre-screening tool allows you to put in your income, put in some of your expenses, and give you an idea of whether or not you may be eligible for SNAP benefits. It's not, it doesn't determine eligibility, but it will give you an idea of whether or not you might be eligible based on some of the things that you enter.
So if somebody's not sure and they just kind of want to get a ballpark figure, so to speak,
Correct.
they can go use the pre-screening tool.
Yes.
And that's on the mdhs.ms.gov
Yes, sir.
website?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Now, I've got some figures here that indicate that just last month, for January 2021, we processed over 202,000 SNAP cases.
Yes.
And we actually dispersed, we awarded almost $89 million in benefits.
Yes.
Wow. That sounds like a pretty high number. Have we done that much before?
No, we have not done that much before, and it looks like ongoing that it's going to be even more than that. We have a lot of people that have applied since the pandemic, and it's going to get probably even higher than that.
Okay. And the other figure I have here indicates that last year, for calendar year 2020, the Department of Human Services dispersed, just for SNAP benefit, about $600 million.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
That is correct.
And that was all over the state of Mississippi.
All over the state of Mississippi.
Okay. And if the 89 million that we did for January stays at that level, this is going to be another record year.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. That's a lot of families for help.
It is a lot of families.
And is SNAP, in your division, is the SNAP program by and large the biggest part of your division?
It is. It is.
Okay.
A lot of times we have people who, for whatever reason, maybe lost their jobs, or maybe lost their jobs due to the pandemic, or we're having health issues and are unable to work, and they have things that happen in their lives, the reason that they're in a situation where they need to have that extra assistance. And you and I both know personally that can happen, because I know a few years ago when my husband was ill, my children and I received SNAP benefits until I was able to find employment.
Right.
So it's not necessarily an ongoing thing for years and years. It may just be that people need help in the midterm while things are going on in their lives. And we're certainly here to provide that help as much as we possibly can.
As I've shared with folks here in the state office and out in our county offices, my family went through that when I was about 10 years old. My dad disappeared, my mom had never worked, and we needed that help. And we had it for about 2.5 years while she went through a training program at Ingalls Shipyard and learned how to, be a ship fitter. So it's great help for families when they need it.
And that's why I just wanted to make sure, that people know that, we have actual people that work here at our agency, and they're people just like regular people. We're regular folks. Right. Everybody goes through something sometimes. So we're here to help as much as we possibly can. We know that, it has been hard trying to get a hold of their caseworkers, and sometimes things don't move as quickly as we would like for them to, but we're working as hard as we can to get as many applications done as we can to feed as many families as we can.
Yeah, and from executive director, division director, on down to some of our eligibility workers, we know what it's like when you're needing that help. Waiting to get those benefits. And
Absolutely.
It's an unsettling place to be. Well, talk to me a little bit about something called SNAP Ed. What is that program?
Okay, our SNAP Ed program is administered through the Mississippi State University Extension Service. Okay. And it basically educates people who are eligible for federal aid to be able to fix healthy meals for their families. It teaches them how to buy nutritious foods, how to prepare nutritious foods and nutritious meals for their families.
Okay. My information here indicates it focuses on some behavioral outcomes, teaching people how to have better eating habits, basically. Is that what we're talking about?
Making half of their plate fruits and vegetables, and then switching to low-fat milk or non-fat milk products, increasing their physical activities, maintaining the proper calorie balance throughout the day. Just things that we normally just take for granted and wouldn't think about. Just being a little bit more conscious of how we prepare meals and how we purchase food for meals.
Right. All those designed to get people more fit and have them have healthier diets all the way around.
Yes.
And we all know Mississippi has the largest problem with obesity.
Yes.
And that's from lack of activity and from poor diets, by and large.
Correct.
And this is helping us move beyond that.
Correct.
Is there information online about the SNAP Ed program?
There is, if you go on our website, there's some information on there about it. You can also go to the Mississippi State University Extension Service website.
Okay.
And there's some information on there as well.
Okay. Well, another program that I'm sure our audience is familiar with is the TANF program. So talk to me a little bit about what the TANF program is.
The TANF program provides a money payment for families with children under the age of 18. Of course, one of the ways that we support our TANF clients is not just with the money payment, but also through vocational programs, educational programs, work programs, and basically trying to move them from where they are to a place of self-sufficiency so that they can have educational opportunities and they can take advantage of those things in order to be able to help them to get a secure job to support their families.
Okay. So all the TANF families that we assist, there are children in those families.
Yes.
Whereas the SNAP cases, the individuals who are on the SNAP program may be
Correct. May not
single
have
individual or retired individual, senior citizen living at
Yes,
home.
all of those.
Okay. But TANF is always temporary assistance for needy families. So there's
Correct.
got to be a child at the house.
Under the age of 18.
Okay. And there's a pretty low income threshold, as I understand it. How much can you make and still qualify for TANF?
Well, a family of 3 can make $680 a month and still
Okay.
qualify.
Wow, that's not very much.
It's not very much.
And I know Mississippi has a pretty low TANF benefit right now. For a family of 3, how much is that right now?
It's $170 a month.
Okay, so family of 3 gets their income up to $850 a month if they get TANF. Well, I mean, if they make $680 and they get this $170, their income is still only $850.
That's true.
Okay.
For a family of 3.
Now, we have some legislation pending in the state legislature right now that's going to increase that minimum monthly amount. How much is it raising it up to?
It would be $280 a month.
Okay.
So it's increasing it by $90.
Okay, great. And
I'm sorry, $260 a month.
$260. And we haven't increased that amount, I believe, since about 1999. Is that right?
That's correct as well.
Wow. Now, when I came on board as the executive director, we looked at a new mission statement, and the TANF program seems to really lean into our mission statement about offering Mississippians young and old tangible help today to provide a lasting hope for tomorrow. Is that what we're trying to do with TANF?
That is exactly what we're trying to do. And the tangible part, obviously, is the money payment, the work programs, the education programs, and that hope is that they take those skills and things that they've learned and take those opportunities to be able to secure lasting jobs for themselves and be able to support their families.
Okay. I've heard about the TANF work program. Is it accurate that everybody who's on TANF has a requirement to either be working, be looking for work, or to be enrolled in some kind of educational program?
That's correct, or unless they meet an exemption. Because we do have some TANF clients that are grandparents that are receiving Social Security or SSI, and they're receiving TANF for their grandchildren, so they would meet an exemption in that case.
Okay. Now, we talked last week with our director of our Child Support Enforcement Division, and I hear complaints from time to time about cooperation with the child support program. How does that work in relation to TANF?
With TANF, they are required to cooperate with child support. That means providing whatever information they can on the absent parent to be able to secure funds from them as well to be able to support the family. So that is a requirement of our TANF program.
Okay. And is there anything else that's required when somebody signs up initially for TANF? Do they have to go through any kind of test or any kind of other procedure?
They are required to sign up for Mississippi Works and to complete the substance abuse screening inventory. And that's just to make sure that prior to being assigned to any type of work program, they're not currently using abusive substances or anything like that, which we do have some referrals that we can get them some help for that as well.
Okay. Now, my understanding is for the SNAP program, we issue what's called an EBT card, which is electronic benefit transfer card.
Correct.
It looks just like a debit card,
It
basically.
does.
For TANF, how do we get people's TANF assistance to them?
It's a card as well. It's an Epic card, and it works the same way as a debit card.
Okay, so it looks just
And
like
their
any
benefits.
other debit
Mhm.
card.
And
Are
their
there any
benefits.
limits on what somebody can use their TANF benefits for in terms of what they can purchase?
They cannot purchase liquor or anything like that, but they are able to purchase any type of food or paper products with their TANF benefits. Yes.
Okay. Now, there's another program called TFAP. What is TFAP all about?
TFAP is the Emergency Food Assistance Program.
Okay.
It's administered through, it's a federally funded program that's administered through the Mississippi Food Network and 12 Baskets there on the coast. And it assists with providing food to food pantries and other food assistance programs to be able to feed needy families and elderly families or anybody. There's no eligibility requirements in a lot of cases for those programs.
Okay, so this is like when people are put out of work or they've gone through a disaster or something like
Yes,
that?
yes,
TFAP
correct.
helps them out.
Yes.
Okay. Does TFAP, can you be on SNAP and also receive assistance through the TFAP program?
You can. It's really designed for people who are not receiving assistance, but since it's an emergency food assistance program, I mean, it's for people who have some type of emergency situation.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay. And just, we're going to be going to questions here in just a few minutes, but just so our audience understands, the way that their applications for SNAP and TANF particularly are handled, we have eligibility workers who do the initial eligibility determination on their cases, is that right?
Correct.
And then there are case workers who kind of keep up with their cases once they are in the system, is that?
Well, the eligibility workers are the ones who do the recertifications once the cases, once the application has been completed and approved. Then the eligibility workers will follow those cases as well.
Okay. And the SNAP cases are recertified on a regular basis, is that right?
SNAP cases right now are recertified every 6 months.
Okay.
And for people who, what we call ABODs, who are adults without, able-bodied adults without dependents, that would be an adult in the case who doesn't have a child,
Right.
as long as they don't meet an exemption, they are recertified every 4 months.
Okay. Okay. So a single individual receiving SNAP benefits will be recertified every 4 months.
As long as they're above the age of 50 and don't meet an exemption.
Okay. All right. Well, we had a few pre-submitted questions. I'm going to look at a few of those first, and then we're getting some questions in also from our audience. First of these is, will schools who had been 100% virtual during the whole pandemic, will they qualify if we reinitiate the PEBT program?
It is my understanding that they will qualify.
Okay. What happens, well, some school meals are grant or state funded. What happens to the money that if the school is no longer providing meals?
To the PBT money?
Well, if the State Department of Education has funds and they stop providing meals, does that affect anybody's eligibility for the PEBT program?
No.
What is the qualification? Is there an eligibility qualification for PEBT?
Really, the only eligibility qualification is that the child attended school between March 19th of 2019 and May of 2019. I mean 2020. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And once if they attended school during that time, then they should, in that particular school district, then they should be eligible for PEBT.
Okay. All right. My understanding, last year we spent a lot of time trying to find all the children who were eligible to receive those PEBT benefits, right?
Yes.
And we got a data file from the Department of Education
Yes.
that was from actually back in October of 2019, right?
Correct.
And was that part of the problem with trying to catch up with everybody?
Well, we had some information that we got from MDE, and throughout the year, people have moved, or they've changed school districts, or the children are no longer living in the same household, that type of thing. So we had to go through one by one and try to determine where the people were, and trying to make sure that we had the correct addresses, and trying to secure accurate addresses to be able to get the benefits to those people.
Okay. All right, here's a question about our phone system. It says, I've been calling the Jackson, Mississippi office for 2 weeks with no answer and no callback and no customer service. Why is that?
Okay, with the phone systems, initially when our phone systems were set up, they were not set up to handle the volume of calls that we receive now, and they were not set up to, our offices were not set up to conduct just phone interviews, which is why our county offices, each one of our eligibility workers has their own office, because we were doing in-person interviews at that time. So since the pandemic hit, it's been very difficult to get all that volume of phone calls through on those same few lines that we have that exist. And you mentioned earlier, we share, some of our county offices share phone systems with other county offices, with other offices within the building. Sometimes we have our telephone calls go into a queue. And once the queue is filled, either the client gets cut off or they get shifted over into what I call the phone zone. But we're working on those things. We're trying really hard to update our phone systems. We're trying very hard to try and hire some additional people to be able to accommodate all the phone calls that we're getting, and trying to make sure that we serve everybody as quickly as we possibly can.
Okay. I have a question here, and I think this is regarding SNAP, but the question is, how can I get an increase in benefits? Have there been some increases in SNAP benefits during the pandemic?
Actually, there was a bill signed right before the last administration ended that increased it by 15%. And our clients should be seeing that increase in the month of February.
Okay, and that was somebody else's question. When will we get the increased benefits?
It should be in February of this year.
So sometime later this month,
Yes.
they will
During
hear
this
about
month,
that.
yes, when they receive their regular allotment.
Okay. Now, another question is, why is it that so many people receive letters closing their cases when no one has called them about certification?
With the phone calls, since we're now doing phone interviews exclusively, we don't have the personnel to be able to necessarily make multiple phone calls to the person. So if we call, if your caseworker calls and you don't recognize the number, and perhaps you don't answer the number, then it may be difficult for the caseworker to call back at some other time. So it may be that if you miss that call, you may get that letter. If you get a letter like that, then you need to call your county office to try and reschedule your appointment.
Okay. And as I recall, last year when we were at the height of the pandemic and all of our folks were teleworking, working from home, we actually bought a bunch of flip phones to give to our eligibility workers, right?
Which we're still using. We still have quite a few people that are still teleworking.
Right.
And that's why I said they'll be calling from a regular 601 number that you may not recognize because it doesn't have the DHS tag on it.
Right.
So if you're expecting a phone call, you're supposed to get, you have an interview, leave a 30-minute window, somewhere, or 15-minute window before, 15-minute window after, for your caseworker to be able to get in touch with you.
Okay. Same kind of question, I guess. It says, why are so many cases being closed before certification is completed? Are we closing them before we do certification? And if so, why do we close them?
The only reason that the case would close, if you receive a notice of expiration saying that your case needs to be recertified, you need to submit an application to be able to keep your case open. Submit that application with all the information, and you should be contacted for an interview. If we request information after that interview that's not provided, the case will close. If the application is not submitted before the notice of expiration date that appears on the notice, the case will close.
Okay. Are those expiration dates that we control, or are they in the regulations that we have to follow? Okay. So the Department of Agriculture, as I understand it, administers the SNAP program, and then they ask us to be the agency, the state agency that disperses the funds.
Correct.
But they make all the rules, essentially.
I was about to say, there are a lot of things that we don't make the rules about, and that is one of those things. Okay. Usually we try to make sure that we send the notices out ahead of time, where when you get the notice, you still have about 30 days prior to the certification ending date for you to be able to contact your county office if you don't receive a letter.
Okay.
Scheduling an interview.
Okay. Share with our audience a little bit, because I'm not sure everybody's really aware. Some of the computer systems we're using in the county offices and even in the state office are pretty old. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that.
I guess in a way it's kind of funny. My first job out of college, I was an eligibility worker. That was in 1990. So when I came back to the agency in 2017, we were still using the
Same old stuff.
same computer system
Wow.
that we were using then. So we have some real challenges. Our caseworkers have some real challenges in working with that system. We've had some upgrades that work along with the original system, but we're still having to work in two systems. It's not where it's seamless and you just put it in and work it and it goes through. And there's still two different systems that we're working with at any given time. So it makes it a little bit difficult.
And I have seen some of these systems when you actually look at a screen. It's an old green
Monochrome.
screen
Yes.
on a black background.
Yes.
Green letters on a black background, like the first computers
Yes.
most of us ever saw.
Yes. And a lot of our people that are watching probably won't have the slightest idea
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, and it's before, and this really ages me, but it also ages our computer systems. It's before we even had
Yes.
Windows and a mouse.
Correct.
Because our systems don't even use a mouse,
No,
right?
no.
They're that old.
Yes.
That you put a mouse next to it, it doesn't matter. You can't
Nope.
use it anyway.
You cannot.
Yeah, we've begun a dialogue internally at the agency and also beginning to talk with the legislature about moving forward on replacing some of those old systems.
Correct.
Right.
So we actually processed those 80,000 applications with that system.
Wow.
So
Wow. We have a question here. It says, do you have to cancel SNAP to close a child support case?
no, you do not.
Okay.
So,
So we can continue assisting a family with SNAP even if their child support case
Correct.
is
Absolutely.
closed out. Okay. Now, the cooperation requirement that I know we require cooperation with the child support program. Again, is that our rule or is that the Fed's rule?
That's a federal rule. That's not our rule.
Okay, so if we're going to participate in the child support enforcement program and the SNAP program, then the families that we help have to participate as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And what that participation looks like depends on the child support office. That's not something that we regulate or control.
Right.
And they will send us verification that the person is or is not cooperating with them.
Okay. I've heard some complaints from time to time about people only receiving $16 a month in SNAP benefits. What are those cases about?
Most of those are for our elderly clients,
Okay.
and most of them are receiving Social Security or SSDI benefits. And once we put that income in, that's the allotment that they're allowed based on their income and expenses.
Wow. So is that like the minimum amount that anybody would receive?
No, it could be less than that depending upon their income.
Wow. Okay. And again, that's not our rule.
No.
That's written
That-
into the federal regulations.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Did the folks who are receiving those lower amounts, though, did they get an increase during the pandemic?
Yes. We requested emergency supplements, which
Okay.
increased it to the full amount of however many people in their household would receive. So, for example, for one person, the allotment limit would be $194. So even if they only usually would receive the $16, they receive that additional amount to equal it out to the full amount that a person would receive if they had no income for one person household.
Okay. A couple of other questions, and we're going to probably have to wrap it up here soon, but do we help disabled people find a job? Is that part of what we do through our work program?
No, actually, that would probably be done more so through the Department of Rehabilitation, because if they're disabled and they are receiving benefits as a disabled person or have a certification saying that they're disabled, they would meet an exemption for our work requirements.
Okay. And then there's a question, is there a plan for reopening county offices? We've been talking about that internally.
We don't know the time frame for that, but there is a plan. All the county offices have submitted what we call preliminary reentry plans of how to keep our clients safe and how to keep our
Right.
staff safe once the lobbies are allowed to reopen.
Right. Well, and our primary concern, I assume, everybody's trying to get this vaccine, and we want to give everybody an opportunity to be vaccinated before we reopen those offices, right?
Correct.
Okay. And all of us, I'm sure, watch what Dr. Dobbs tells us almost every day, and he's encouraging us, go make those appointments, get online if you can at, I think it's covidvaccine.umc.edu, and make yourself an appointment if you haven't had your vaccine yet. And as soon as we can get as many of our people vaccinated as possible, both our clients and our employees, then we'll be moving forward with opening those county offices. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Well, anything else before we close out here that you want to share with the audience about what your division, Economic Assistance Eligibility, does?
Well, like I said, we're here to help. If you have questions, be sure to call your county office. We have a customer service line that you can be referred to if you need some extensive help walking through how to submit an application online, questions about SNAP in general. You can go to our website. It has plenty of questions on there. We have GenBot that's on our website that you can type in your question and get some answers to your questions. So we have a lot of resources available if people have questions about how to apply or whether they're eligible. I would encourage you, if you think you may need help and need benefits, to please apply.
All right. And we're helping at least from month to month, anywhere between 250,000 people.
Yes, sir.
And I see we have one more question about PEBT, and I just want to emphasize we are discussing PEBT internally. We're talking with the Food and Nutrition Service about what the rules are for continuing PEBT, so please be patient with us. We are aware that everybody who has a child who's in school or who's at home wants the benefit of that program, and we are definitely giving that every consideration.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Sharon. I appreciate your being with me today. Next week, we will have Kenyatta Blake Washington, who's the director of our Division of Adult and Aging Services. She will be talking with us about all of the things that we do through the Division of Adult and Aging Services to assist the senior citizens across the state of Mississippi. And we do quite a bit of work to help senior citizens as well. So that will be next Thursday, February 18th, 1 p.m. Again, Facebook Live. If you have questions, submit those in advance, and then you can certainly submit questions during our town hall again next week. So thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you.